Hey guys, welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. Today we are delving into the verdict of the Carly Gregg case. You know, Gypsy Rose Blanchard's Minnie. Should a 15-year-old receive a life sentence? She took a gamble. She could have faced 40 years in a plea deal. This is where she differs from Gypsy. Gypsy received a sweet 10-year deal at the age of 24, which I call the mid 20s, and that's fully an adult. It's puzzling because shortly after Gypsy ended her mother's life, we saw her on video, just like Carly. And praise Jesus, she could walk, which means she had the chance to walk away that day, but she chose not to, allowing a violent criminal to become an influence, or as Gypsy calls it, an influencer as a job, sets a very dangerous precedent. But today we focus on Carly Gregg and her life sentence. I'm going to roll some credits while we wait for the power crew to roll in. Shout out to my replay crew and all my dragonflies. Welcome to all our new power subscribers and dragonflies. There are so many of you right now, and I love it. Hi guys, welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Angel flew down to a tiny house on the edge of hell. Ain't no garage or a swimming pool, just a sad old friend who thinks he's cool. Angel knocks twice. She says, "Let me in." And then his withered old face says, "Where have you been? Where have you been?" She says, "Hello. Aren't you tired of this? Tired of being here in the dark like this?"
Okay, so let's get into it, you guys. Ooh, let me get my screen right, though. There. Okay, so how's everyone doing? Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. So I am really missing my little best friend. You might see me doing more lives because I guess I'm feeling lonely. Yeah, I'm feeling lonely. So gonna do some more lives than I normally do. We normally come live on Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but I'm gonna be throwing in some extra lives. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Carly Gregg case because the verdict was yesterday, and she was found guilty on everything. And then she was sentenced to life on both charges, and then on the tampering she was sentenced to 10 years. So I thought we would look at the verdict and talk about it. Do you think a 14, 15-year-old should get life in prison? I keep saying that I don't think that now you can sentence a minor to prison. And I wanted to look at that real quick before we go into the actual sentencing and all of that. So I saw this where on, I don't know, I think this might be a private place, but it's the Carly Gregg guilty, and somebody, it's in general discussion. And I will put the links to everything that we view during this live in the description. I do it for fair play use. I stop and start. I might not read everything. I talk over things. But I do put the links to everything, and you can just go down into the description of this live and you can find it. So, this person says basically what I said is you can't sentence a minor to life anymore. Hold on a second. It's not coming up. This isn't the article. Well, maybe this is the answer to this, and they're just not replying to the question. Somebody says, disgusting little beast, both physically and mentally. I doubt she'll get life without parole, though, which she deserves. First, I've heard of this. Looks pretty cut and dried. How would this have been a mistake? Look at the flowers. Saw a little on court TV. So nobody's really replying to it. Okay. No such thing as life without for minors anymore. Regardless of the sentence, she will be paroled after 20 years. And this is my understanding of it too. I do have a lawyer that we're going to take a peek at and see what they say, because this is my understanding, because I've seen documentaries of people that had gotten life as a minor, and they were going back in front of the judge to see what they were going to get. Now the judge will sometimes give them like 50, 60 years, which means they're going to probably die in prison. But yeah, this person says, not a fully developed functioning human, may not be a total loss of a person. Time will tell. Forgiveness is in the cards for everyone if they want it / earn it. I think it depends on the crime. I do. Like, did she go into a movie theater or into a school and unalive an entire class or entire theater? No, she did not. She unalived her mom after, which, being a kid, being a kid, when your parents find out that you did something wrong, it felt like the end of the world. And I'm not excusing it, because it's a heinous act that she did, but I do not agree with sentencing. And it doesn't matter, male or female, sentencing a 15, 14-year-old to life. I don't agree with it. But we can have various opinions over here as long as we state it in a respectful way. And that's how we roll over here. Okay. So let's see. This person says, wow, over pot. Stepdad still has a relationship with her. And I wonder what the plea deal, my understanding was 50 years. Quote, Greg turned down a plea deal and was pursuing an insanity defense with psychiatrist Dr. Andrew Clark. That's another thing. A 15-year-old was deciding her fate. So I'm sure a lot of people were telling her to go after the insanity. I know how I was as a 15-year-old. I thought I knew everything. And looking back, I knew nothing. So she could have been the one that insisted on the insanity plea too. Who knows, right? Not my circus, not my monkeys. Then why are you posting about it? I don't know about this case, and I'm not going to take the time. Well, then why are you posting about it? I don't understand this. This confuses me. It's a tragedy that her mother is unalived. It's a tragedy that her life is over before it really began, but she doesn't belong in society. She doesn't belong in society right now, but actually, to be quite blunt, where we're sending her, she probably deserves to be there for the rest of her life, because she's going to learn a lot of bullshit that she didn't know about. And she's going to be a completely different person. So, I mean, the way we're sending people away now, yeah, it's going to be in and out. Even if she did get out, she would probably go right back in, right? Although, what do we think about Gypsy? I think Gypsy's going to end up back in someday. I don't think Gypsy can control herself. What do we think about Gypsy Rose, you guys? Do you think she's going to end up back in prison someday? Because she got it easy. She got out in 7 years? And, Gypsy has that prison education now. Although she did say where she was at the end, it was a pretty sweet deal. Like they gave them keys to their own place, and they tried to make it as, quote, homey as possible, which I think is a good idea. But she should have been required, not allowed to get out. Do not pass go to take classes, extensive classes, and extensive classes. Therapy. Sorry, therapy was the word I was searching for, before she was released. But we don't have the funding for that. So that's never going to happen right now, right? These are all well and good ideas, but we don't put the funding into our prison system. So let's keep going. Sorry, I am feeling a little passionate about the effect Gypsy Rose is having in our society, and what the results are going to be, making her an influence. I'm not even going to call her influence. She's an influence on society. Her influence on society. I'm done calling her an influencer, because that just turns my soul black when I do it. So she is an influence on society, and it's a dangerous one, and I'm not going to stop. I guess I'll do it for the rest of my life until she doesn't have 10 million followers on TikTok. How about that? 10 million or less. All right, so let's keep going and get into the Carly Gregg. I do have one more. Well, we're getting back to the Carly Gregg. Over on Reddit, somebody puts, a child should not be, and I did put a poll up over, do you think Carly Gregg should have got 10 years? Yes, no. Or do you think a 14, 15-year-old should get life? And yes, no, depends on the crime. For me, it really depends on the crime. So, but how could it, if it depends on the crime, how can we make that possibly fair? Because it seems like we have Casey Anthony who gets off scot-free, and we have people like Carly Gregg who's going to spend her life in prison. People like Gypsy Rose, pretty much scot-free. Carly Gregg, who will spend her life in prison. So, a child should not be sentenced to life without parole. You can downvote me into oblivion, but I do not believe a child should, and they should be allowed to have this opinion. And the people who think that Carly should be in prison for life are allowed to have that opinion. We're allowed to have differing opinions in our society and still sit with each other, right? We've been trained the wrong way. It's either us or them, and it doesn't have to be that way. The fact that this is even possible. Oh, also it's a daytime live, so you get the little bird with me. I have a green cheek tenure. He's a little bit over 1 year old. His name is Junebug Cash. Cash is after his dad, and he's a talker. He says so many words, more words than I even know what he says. The fact that this is even possible feels like a gross violation of international, but you don't have to be right up on the mic, baby. International human rights. As a Black man, I can only imagine the amount of Black boys, children who have been sentenced, yes, as adults at her age. It's starting to finally happen to like white kids, more to white kids, I should say, and to white girls, probably more now. I mean, here Carly Gregg is. But I did cover that case of that boy from Florida that killed his father in Oklahoma and got off from it. And then a year later goes and kills his mother. So I can only imagine the amount of Black boys, children who have been sentenced as adults at her age. It's sickening culture. It's a sickening culture in the criminal justice and needs to end. A child is a child. Please feel free to discuss and downvote if you disagree. I didn't realize that you could downvote people for their opinion over on TikTok. Melly, okay, sir, we forget that she was tried as an adult. That's another thing. She was tried as an adult and was kept in an adult prison. So yes, she isn't being tried as a 14, 15-year-old. No, she was tried as an adult. That's another good point. So her sentencing probably needed to reflect that and did. But I'm very, all right. Sorry, I did that right into the mic. Into the other room, my friend. Come on. You want to go in there? Fine. Okay. We got about 15 minutes of him in there. We're going into video soon anyway, so I won't be talking as much. All right, so yeah, she was tried. That's a good point, Mally. She was tried as an adult, and so her sentencing should reflect the adult status. Very good point. That's why I love you guys. You guys help me see things. I'm always willing and open to see things a different way. And so now that's in my little check mark. Point taken. Okay, so maybe we don't have 15 minutes. He's in the bathroom screaming. So the people were saying, she was okay with giving her mom a life sentence. She was also offered a plea deal and she denied it. So taking it to trial and possibly getting life is on her and her attorneys now. Somebody says, exactly. She's chosen all her decisions that will change her life and her life only. Besides taking away her mom's life, who would affect everybody? Smack my head. Sounds like people are not agreeing. She getting murdered also feels like that. Taking away human rights. She's 16 now, not a child. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was 14, my friend. So unpopular opinion on Reddit, it seems, but I agree with you. Trying a child as an adult when they have no other adult rights sits wrong with me. It sits very wrong with me. So I feel like now we should just let 14, 15-year-olds be 18-year-olds because I don't see the point in not treating them as an adult sometimes when they make that adult choice and then saying, oh, you're an adult. I just don't agree with it. I did a lot of shit at 14 that I knew was wrong too. And I think we all did, if we're honest with each other. Not unaliving our parents wrong, but we were learning what was right and what was wrong, and we were testing boundaries at that age. But I did it anyway because I was 14. Also, the impulse control isn't as strong or I mean, for most people, it's not as okay. So most people get control of their impulse control as they get older. I'm thinking of Gypsy Rose, who at 24 didn't have that impulse control. You don't fully think of consequences. Unaliving someone is on a whole other level, and obviously, she can't just be sent back to live in society as if nothing happened. However, I don't think that she should be thrown away as an adult in jail at 15 years old either. I don't either. I mean, 30 years seems about right for me with her, but and for Gypsy, probably the same 30 years, maybe more because she planned it. Well, actually, more Gypsy planned it, and she's out in 7.5, 8 years, and this girl, it was this okay. Anyway, I honestly don't know. See, it makes me mad when there's injustice like this. I don't know. It just must be something in my DNA makeup when things aren't fair for one person to another person. And I honestly don't know what. Uh, I'm going to move him into the other room. All right, come out. Let's see what the front room does for him. I honestly don't know what should or needs to happen. That's the thing. I don't think any of us honestly know what should and needs to happen, but these discussions need to happen, and they're good things. And learning to be able to discuss these in a very calm and centered way is good for us. Good morning, Candy. Hi, Charlene. My heart goes out to the friend who told, oh, I know the friend. My heart goes out to the friend who told her mother about her secret lifestyle, just trying to help. I know that poor friend and the message it will send to other friends. Oh, gosh. Yeah, you're right about that, Charlene. That's horrible. The things we did as 14 would get us grounded, etc., not a life sentence. Yeah. But the things we did as 14, at least I was doing as 14, could have resulted in people being harmed, which could have resulted in me getting a life sentence. Let's put that out there, right? There's a lot of us that were doing dangerous things. So there's that. And if she can get a life sentence, then you can get a life sentence on an accident as well, I'm sure. So, okay. Not unless she can. Okay. This person says, I honestly don't know what should or needs to happen. Trying a 15-year-old as an adult isn't it, though. Not unless she can also vote, go drink in a bar, get a tattoo, drive a car, join the military, or do anything else that an adult can do. We put age restrictions on things for a reason, and that shouldn't be thrown out the window when it comes to the legal system. I feel like this strongly. That's why I don't feel like it could be from case to case, because you couldn't say the legal system isn't set up where you can be like wishy-washy like that. Like, oh, well, she only unalived one person, so it's not so bad. It just doesn't work like that. And you guys, please know that when I say, oh, she only alived one person, I think unaliving one person is horrible, horrible. I'm just discussing and adding voices into it because that's how I talk. I'm very animated. I move my hands when I talk, and lots of eye contact. And so that's what I do when I'm having conversations. So sometimes I'll be talking to someone and I'm moving my hands and stuff, and I notice that people are starting to follow my hands and not look at my face. And that's when I know to stop doing as many hand movements because I'm losing their attention. She took an innocent woman's life, no matter apparent reason, but she gets the opportunity of freedom. And what does race have to do with anything? If you don't think that more Black and brown people are in prison, then that's what it has to do with. when I see that Carly is tried as an adult, I don't think Black and Hispanic people are statistically tried as an adult as a minor more than white people. I don't know that statistic though. Does anyone else? Is anyone a statistics person? I think, a murderous teen who's very aware of her actions is tried as an adult. Sure, you may be right about the statistics of minorities being unlawfully treated in some cases, but that doesn't change the fact that race has absolutely nothing to do with this case. The topic is on whether or not a child should be sentenced to life. First of all, Carly is no child. Furthermore, the question of whether or not a child should be sentenced to life is just that, not. Should a Black or white child be sentenced to life? The person said, I'm sorry the purpose of my comment wasn't clear. I was trying to provide some information that could explain why a Black man might be especially sensitive about the issue of children being tried as adults. Responsive to your question that you asked. Got it. And this person's being an asshole. So, yeah, see, these are the people, like when you see things like this and somebody is being kind in their response, trying to explain it, this is the people that I'm not going to read. I just go forward because I don't need to read or see or hear that negativity. And I'm trying to talk to people that are willing to have conversations, not that arguments. So if you guys want to read that thing, I will for sure. You can find the link in the description. So let's move on and let's look at the actual reply to Carly's reply or response to being charged with guilty and receiving life. Mally says everything comes back to being tried as an adult. We are all beautiful people. If you live, Amy, you're a beautiful soul. I don't know. I'm just not there where I think everyone's a beautiful soul. I just don't think everyone's a beautiful soul. I think there's negativity. There's negative. There's negative. There's good and there's negative. There's good and bad in this world. Yeah. You're not a statistics person, but you're interested. I will try to see. I'm going to be doing more prison reform. I'm setting up some lives centered around prison reform, the Watts case. I will also talk to people about, like, this is very interesting to me, like, should or shouldn't a 14-year-old, 15-year-old really, because if I'm calling Gypsy Rose a 24-year-old, she was actually 23 1 month away. Carly was a 14-year-old 1 month away, so I'll call her a 15-year-old. Okay, so here we are. This is her reaction to the actual guilty. So the jury was away deliberating, and they decided they came back, and this is the actual moment she finds out what the jury's deliberation was. I thought what she was wearing today felt like, I thought she was already dressed in her prison uniform. I thought it was like a sack or something she had on. I'm always interested in clothing, and and she's got her prison t-shirt underneath it. She's a 15-year-old.
All right, if you would please.
Nobody there to tell her, don't do that. Nobody there to tell her don't do that because she took that person out of her life.
Ms. Gregg, please rise and come to the podium, along with your attorneys.
You think she should have gotten life?
Verdicts appear to be in proper form.
I still don't think a minor can get life.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3.
I think there was a Supreme Court law, and I guess I just need to do some research that says that you can't get life if you're a minor.
Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury is custom for the court to poll the jury. I have to do it each time. And for each count, I'm not being rude. The quickest way for me to get through this is to simply point at you and you answer out loud. As to count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Beginning on the first row, ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Yes, sir. Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Yes. Ma'am, is that your verdict? You got to answer out loud, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes. On the back row, sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes. Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? That verdict is proper and unanimous. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Beginning on the first row, ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes. Sir, is that your verdict? Yes, sir. Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Yes. Ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes. On the back row, sir, is that your verdict? Yes, sir. Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Beginning on the first row, ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes, sir, is that your verdict? Yes, ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Yes, ma'am, is that your verdict? Yes, on the back row, sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Sir, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? Ma'am, is that your verdict? All right. All 3 verdicts appear to be unanimous. The court will enroll the verdict. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with you having returned a verdict of guilty in count 1 and count 2 of the indictment, we'll now proceed to the sentencing phase of the trial. State of Mississippi may call its first witness.
Here in the state has no witnesses. We would just ask that the court adopt the previous testimony that the jurors have heard, with the exception of we seek to introduce 1 photograph.
All right. State wishes to move to adopt and incorporate by reference the record of the guilt phase. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Show your piece of evidence to the other side. Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Exactly. Yes, Lulu. Oh, shoot, it won't stay up. Yes, Gypsy got 10, got out in 7.5, and this girl is going to get life. But I did while this was playing. I just want to see. I actually didn't see this part. Well, I didn't see this part. I've been going through some things with losing the little dog. And so I didn't see this part. I saw when they came back and did the sentence or the verdict on how many years or what she was going to get. But while I was waiting, I Googled, was there a Supreme Court ruling stating a minor can't get life? And the AI overview says yes. The Supreme Court has ruled that minors cannot receive mandatory life without parole sentences. In 2010, in Graham versus Florida, the U.S. Supreme Court held that the 8th Amendment category prohibits life without parole sentences for children who commit, it's non-homicide. Oh, she can get life. It's non-homicide crimes. So That's what it is. It's
All right, the state has
non-homicide.
moved to adopt and incorporate by reference the record of the guilt phase of
Oh,
the
I think
trial. The court
14
will
is way
grant that
different, probably.
request. Does the state have any other witnesses it wishes to call?
No, sir, Your Honor.
All right.
I think it's way different because the internet because I'm 53 as well. The internet wasn't around and we didn't have access to all the information that kids these days have access to. They're smarter than we were too because they had access to everything. They use bigger words than we use because they have access to everything. So yes, I do believe so.
Defense may call any witnesses.
We don't have any witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. With the defense not calling any witnesses, attorney's approach. Does the defense rest its case in chief as to sentencing? Do you also move to adopt and incorporate by reference the record? All right. Y'all approach.
I really didn't think there was any way that she could get life, but I don't know. I'm different than other people. I try to find good and bad, and I can see when there's bad and good. And yeah. Let's go on to the next one. So now the jury went away and deliberated. She showed big emotions during, the verdict, but on the outcome of the trial, but on the sentencing, she was different. It was like she had accepted it. I saw her smiling and laughing. I thought, like, maybe I didn't, but I think I did. But let's see.
Your sentences will be as follows. As to count one, the jury having fixed the verdict at life imprisonment, this court will sentence you to life imprisonment. As to count two, you'll be sentenced to life imprisonment. As to
No,
count
I don't
three,
think there
you'll be
were.
sentenced to 10 years to serve. You'll be required
The
to pay.
victim impact statements, I think, come when they come back and the judge finally sentences her, unless he did it all at once. I don't know. I don't remember. Did he? Is there going to be a sentencing? A formal sentencing, or did he just say we're going to do it right now? I don't remember.
Pay court cost fees and assessments in the amount of $431.50. Ms. Gregg, regarding any appeal of your judgment of conviction and order of sentence and in accordance with Wright versus State 577, Southern 2nd 387, the court wants to inform you that pursuant to Rule 4E of the Mississippi Rules of Appellate Procedure, the notice of appeal required by Rule 3 of such rules shall be filed with the circuit clerk within 30 days after the date of the denial of any motion for a new trial or the date of imposition of sentence, whichever is later. Pursuant to Rule 4E, if you make a timely motion under the Mississippi Rules of Criminal Procedure for a judgment of acquittal notwithstanding the verdict to the jury or for a new trial under Rule 25.1, the time for appeal shall run from the entry of the order denying such motion. Finally, Rule 25.1 subsection C provides that a motion for a new trial must be made within 10 days of entry of the judgment.
But oftentimes people who are very intelligent, that have intelligence, really lack common sense. Have you noticed that? A lot of times people that are very, very smart lack common sense.
Judgment, which includes both adjudication of guilt and sentence. Should you make a decision on the record to appeal, that decision will stand unless a written statement to the contrary signed by you and your attorney is filed with the court. Should you make a decision to waive appeal, that decision will stand unless you give written notice to the court and your attorney prior to expiration of the time in which you perfect an appeal. Should no decision to appeal be made by you, your failure to express a desire to appeal shall be considered a waiver of your right to appeal, and that waiver will stand unless you give written notice.
I'm laughing because Giselle comes in and gets the Zalgo. I don't know what this Zalgo thing is, but Giselle gets it every time. And it's just now become a fun little thing. She's the Zalgo queen. So if you ever get this, just know it's a running joke over here. And I'm not telling anybody to watch it. It's just a joke. And hi there.
notice to the court and to your attorney prior to expiration of the time in which to perfect an appeal. Have you made a decision to appeal your conviction and sentence? All right. Court will be in recess.
Your Honor, I need clarification. I apologize on this.
Sentences will run concurrent.
Okay, I don't think there's any impact statements. Is this, what's this?
Out loud. As to count one, we, the
No,
jury,
that
find
that was the verdict. It sounds to me like he sentenced her, but I think we should go to the lawyer. We need to unleash the lawyers. Like, is that what Nancy Grace says? I found this lawyer talking about it, the lawyer you know. So I thought we would watch a little bit of him so maybe we can understand what just happened. I wish I knew more about this. I do have a paralegal coming on, you guys, that you're going to love. And she knows the Tiger King. So we're going to talk about the Tiger King, Ryan, Gypsy Rose, that angle. And she's coming on this Friday. So hopefully you guys, I think you guys will like it. I feel like you guys will.
What's up, everybody? We have a verdict and we have a sentence for Carly Gregg. I want to talk about some of the details near the end of the case and some very cringy, shocking things I heard also happen. We'll discuss some of the arguments that happened as well. You guys are going to have questions, I'm sure. Can't wait to answer them. Let's get to it.
I should have a something that comes in from the night bot.
We're going to start with
somebody did get it and they got really
we're going to start
offended.
with today's video.
Okay, let me see. This doesn't look like it's Carly Gregg.
And we are going rebuttal, which was day 4. It was mostly mental health professionals. They discussed how
You have we're going to look at the mental health professionals at the end. So we are going to take a quick peek at what he has to say about the mental health professionals. I've got her mental health, the one that testified for Carly, and then I've got the one that testified for the state. Because I think the mental health professionals really did it. That and the and we're going to watch the video of her right after of the when she took the fire leg. I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm talking about, and went into the room and did what she did. We do have that video.
even if she does have
Be sure to give this live. I forgot to say this a lot. This live, when I don't have mods, I forget to do everything. But be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out. And I do have mods. They're just, it's early. They're on a different time zone. Shouldn't have said it that way. They're on a different time zone than I am. But you know, give this live a thumbs up. Helps me dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. And it's just a free way to help me out. And I don't know what's going on, you guys, but my views are down. Like, I went from clearing 1K alive before I ended it to last night 150. The night before 90. I don't know. And that was 1K was the lowest. We were getting up to 4K. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. But if you could possibly share my lives out with people and maybe help me get out there, that would be really, really appreciated.
these mental health disorders, that does not automatically make her not guilty by reason of insanity. And nobody's really diagnosed her with anything other than depression and anxiety, which they say a lot of teens have. And besides what this defense doctor diagnosed her with, all these different things. And I think the best evidence for the state and what really ended up winning the day is the video. the video of her looking cool, calm, calculated, not in some sort of psychotic episode break, not knowing what was going on. She was hiding the firearm, looking around the corners, planning, making sure the right time, coming back,
I
texting.
started to branch off though. I've included the Carly Russell. There was a night that I brought in these other teens. And so I've started branching off from the Gypsy. I went back to the Watts case. No, it's something, I'm a Scorpio and I'm paranoid, but when you go from 1K to 150, my mind goes to, am I being blackballed? What's going on out there? But you know what? I got to keep it going, because when you know something's right, you know it's right. And I know that this channel is right. And so we're not going to stop. We're just going to continue to expand, because we have a new channel coming out, the Paraworld News. And so, yeah, just going to keep it moving.
People getting rid of the camera. Was it a perfect plan? No, but it definitely looked like she knew she was doing something wrong. Right. And that's the big thing.
I'm asking for help from you guys, which in my past, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have asked for help. I'm one of those people. No, I'll do it myself. No, I'll do it. You can't do it. I'll do it. That's me. And so I am really learning to be like, I can't do this all myself. And why would I want to do this all myself? This is something that's supposed to be for all of us. I'm the leader. I'm the director. I'm driving the ship. But you guys are on the ship with me, right? So why not ask for help too? So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to start asking for help. It's not easy for me, but I'm asking. Please share. And it would help me out a lot.
With insanity is, do you know you're doing something wrong and you still do it anyways?
Thank you, Claire.
There was some back and forth about a potential Brady violation. At the end of the day, the defense was wrong. And the judge scolded the defense. And later on, the defense objected and said they're mentioning the minors' names too many times. The judge scolds the defense again, basically saying we're doing the best we can. Some of this is public record. We do the best we can to keep it out. But sometimes it comes in. We don't need to keep stopping the trial because we got to care about this jury. They continue to talk to experts, continue to explain why she wasn't insane at the time. That was all their expert opinions. Of course, no surprise there. But they also talked about how the expert tried to interview the stepdad, and he really wouldn't cooperate fully without the defense attorneys there. He wasn't as open and forthcoming with the state's experts as he was with the defense experts, which I think is a bad look. I don't know why you wouldn't just be honest and open and forthcoming. If you really truly believe it was an insane episode and she wasn't herself, why would you not just tell the state experts that? I don't understand that. Then they go through kind of the final points in the summary of the expert that she was not insane according to the legal measures of it.
I don't think she was insane. I'm just going to put this out there. And what a ridiculous thing to try to go for that, because it's so hard to get an insanity plea. Hi, Heavenly. How are you doing? I don't know, Giselle. I wish I could help you with the card situation. I would ask for help, but asking for help from YouTube would take me a long time, and then they probably wouldn't even answer it. Oops. I hit my microphone on accident. So, but I will, did you Google to see if other people are having issues? We'll let this play and I'll Google while it's playing.
The defense basically on cross poked at a lot of the experience, how the defense expert had so much more experience. They talked about how this was so outside of her character, how there was other testimony that she wasn't cool, calm, and collected. This was a psychotic break, and they, continued with that type of an argument. Then we got to closing arguments, and the state basically said, use your common sense. They go through the elements, they go through intent, they go through planning, they go through what she did. They talk about how none of this is really disputed. In a case like this with insanity, the first close is always focusing on the facts. The second close is where the state focuses on the insanity rebuttal. Okay, so they prove the facts, which are basically all stipulated to that she committed this act. Defense goes and they put forth the insanity defense, and then state responds that that's exactly how these closings went. The first one was short, sweet, to the point. I thought really good. Then the defense closing, they focused. Now, the defendant split their closing between the two defense attorneys, which I thought was kind of, it's fine, but usually you have to do two completely separate things. Like at first,
Let's go forward and see what he has to say about the outcome, because that's what I'm interested in.
Jury's question is, what is life in prison without parole? Question mark, years wise. Attorneys can approach.
That's a little nerve-wracking to me that they don't understand life without parole means life forever. If I'm the defense attorney, you probably want to say that so they know what that means. But we'll hear how the judge deals with it.
Look at the note. It's a number for ID purposes only. All right. Anybody need to review any further?
No.
All right. We'll mark the C next to number for ID purposes only. All right.
By the way, if I was the defense, that would
so
not
apparently they didn't understand what life was and life without parole was.
be a question that made me feel really good.
Well, the truth of the matter is, the truthful answer to that question is nobody knows. However, typically all the court can say is something to the effect of, you've received all the evidence and instructions in this case, please continue your deliberations. I'll hear arguments from the state as to response by the defense.
Oh, that's right.
All right. I'm going to
This
ask
was
Ms.
the
Butler
question
to,
while they were
write that out.
deliberating.
Tell them my handwriting's bad.
They had a question. Well, maybe he's not going to talk about the outcome. Let me see.
Used to it as a prosecutor making that decision. Can they appeal just the sentencing? Yes.
Oh, okay.
KPAC, I'm as law and order as they come, career law enforcement officer, but giving a 14-year-old life without parole is total overkill and insanity, especially when stepfather doesn't want it. Yeah, victim doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Absolutely a mental health component. Did it lead to this? The jury decided no.
That's another thing, that the stepdad didn't want it. The victim who made it says, no, I don't want it. It doesn't matter.
But 15-year-old, not fully developed brain, victim doesn't want life. At least the living victim doesn't want life. That's a tough one. I think the state sentencing argument was inappropriate. It sounded as though with parole, she could just walk out anytime she pleases. Not that it would have been determined she's okay to be released. Yeah, I think the defense should have dug into that more in theirs. I would have been like, that is an absolute joke that she's going home tomorrow or next week. There's almost no way of that. The only way she ever goes home is if a board of people who do this all the time say she's okay to go out. And if she's okay to go out, shouldn't you want her to go out?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous what they're saying about the stepdad. Just the fact that you can tell this was so uncomfortable for him. He never wanted to be, you can tell he would be someone who would not want to take pictures, wouldn't want any of this in a million years. And now he's being called all these things because he has the courage or whatever. It's his choice to stand by his child. So people always have to spin a negative reason why somebody would stand by their family member. So
as a human being and a juror, even after what she did, they're going to know what she did. They're going to know what happened at trial. They're going to know your verdict that you found her guilty. And they're still going to say she should go home. That's the only way she goes home. I think a lot more of an argument should have been made for that. Mom says, help me, right before she starts humming. Even the dogs look, and she goes back into the room. I'll have to check out that video again. Maybe slow it down. Cheswick said, third video today means Zero Monday. I almost forgot there was 3. And no, not 0 until Monday. We actually have an absolutely thank you to everybody that came and joined.
So life means life for Carly. Yeah, life means life. So I thought we could look at this 11 disturbing moments in her trial. So they're kicking it off with this disturbing moment when Carly was listening to the 911 call. Carly showed huge emotions, big emotions. I feel like she showed remorse, but It doesn't matter what somebody on trial does. It doesn't matter if they cry, if they're stoic, if they're mad. They're never going to be, you're never going to find everyone saying, yeah, she's remorseful. It's always going to be like, it's an act. She's insane. She's crazy. You know, like you're never going to get it from a trial. It's just, I think, impossible. It doesn't matter what you do as the defendant, how you act. It's never going to be right.
A teenager in Mississippi on trial for murder, accused of shooting her stepfather and murdering her mother.
Hey, I need you to talk to me. What is your son wearing?
He was in jeans and a grayish t-shirt. She got short brownish hair.
So jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran. She shot me in the neck.
Carly Gregg was just 14 years old when she was charged with murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence. Prosecutors say in March of this year, the teenager shot her mother, Ashley Smiley, in the neck, killing her. After killing her mother, Carly allegedly texted her friend, asking her to come over to see her mother's lifeless body. And when her stepfather, Heath Smiley, arrived home, he tried to wrestle the gun away from the teen, but was shot in the shoulder.
This doesn't have markers, so I'm just going to guess and move forward.
Still outside. At some point, Ashley finds what law enforcement believe to be the 4 boxes that contain vape pens. Testimony will be that we believe she carried them from Carly's room to her bedroom, went back to search in Carly's room. The evidence will show that almost immediately upon Carly coming inside the house, that she walks straight to her parents' bedroom, that she goes straight to her mom's side of the bed and removes a .357 Magnum from under the mattress. We believe the testimony will be that then she concealed that .357 Magnum behind her back as she walks through the kitchen. She peeks her head around. We believe the testimony will show that she peeks her head around the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her bedroom. We believe the evidence will then show that she walked with that .357 Magnum behind her back, walked into her own bedroom, and then fired 3 shots into her mother, killing her. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the testimony will then be that after she puts the phone back down and walks out of sight with the camera, that between the next 45 minutes or so, that the defendant reaches out to or attempts to reach out to about 5 or 6 of her friends. Some were FaceTime, some were text messages. We believe the evidence will show that during this time, she was asking them all for help, trying to get them to come over to her house. She wouldn't tell them why. We believe that one of them's going to say he even offered to call 911, and she told him no. The evidence will also be that one of these friends did in fact come over to help Carly that day. She didn't know why, but she knew that her friend needed help, and she went to that home. We believe the evidence will show that when that friend arrived at Carly's house, that Carly walked to the front door, asked her, "Are you squeamish around dead bodies?" We believe the evidence will show that then she took that friend and showed her dead mother laying on the floor. We believe the evidence will show that after that, she says, "I put 3 in my mom, and I got 3 more waiting for my stepdad when he gets home." We believe the evidence will show that then she tells this friend, "Hey, why don't you go wait outside in the backyard? My stepdad's about to be home." This friend will testify that she does go in the backyard and she hears gunshots. And the next thing she sees is Carly coming out of the back door. We believe the testimony will be that she fell down coming out of the back door, gets up and tells her to run. And these 2 individuals, this friend and Carly, jump over the fence and run separate directions.
But during the defense's opening statement, Carly's attorney told the jury she didn't have a criminal history and was an exceptionally bright kid. And while they admitted it's not a whodunit case, they instead went the route of giving jurors insight into why Gregg killed her mother and shot her stepfather.
We believe the evidence will show.
She looks so different there, doesn't she? Look at her. She looks so different. People, when you put bangs on them, they'll just look different. I love bangs because bangs, when you're older, bangs, they just make your face look younger. So that's a little tip if you, but it's got to be a good set of bangs because bangs are like, you just got to get the right shape for your face.
They instead went the route of giving jurors insight into why Gregg killed her mother and shot her stepfather.
We believe the evidence will show that there were 3 victims on March 19th. Ashley Smiley, Heath Smiley, and Carly Smiley. And Carly Gregg. That they were all 3 victims We believe the evidence will show that Carly had been suffering from a mental illness, that Carly was not aware on March 19th that she had a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's parents who lived with her were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's close friends who saw her at school every day were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness, because it's hard to look at a person and understand that they have a mental illness. It's hard to look at a person and know that they have a mental illness. That's why it's often referred to as the invisible disease. A person can exhibit symptoms of a mental illness without people necessarily knowing that they have one, or other people necessarily knowing.
I think if she was a little more panicked on the video, maybe they would have believed it, because, and the stepdad had said, like, when he came home, she was just like screaming like a mad woman, and he'd never seen her like that before. But she's perfectly calm on the video that we're gonna, on the surveillance footage that we're gonna watch in just a minute.
Wife was also shot dead on the floor, and continued to talk to him until deputies arrived on scene.
When the 911 call played in court, Carly wept profusely while sitting at the defense table.
Calm down. What's your name? Okay, calm down for me. Give me your name again.
So calm.
Keith Smiley. Yes, sir. All right, mister. What's your phone number you calling me from?
Although the way she sat down on the chair, on the stool, I felt like she looked a little like she was in shock, but I don't know. Okay, so this was the 911 call that was the call when this was opening statements. This was the first witness on the stand, actually, this guy. And he's the 911 operator, and she did sob during this call. She did. And then we saw the body cam footage of the call, and that was shocking.
Can you tell me what your son's wearing? I need to talk to him. What is your son wearing?
And this confused me at first, because he said son, and I was like, oh, does he have his son was there too? I was like very confused, but I don't think he has another child. I think Carly is the only child he considers.
The grayish t-shirt, she's got short brownish hair.
So jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran. She shot me in the neck. It's okay.
Does she still have the gun?
It's on the kitchen counter. I think there's one light round left in it. I was under. I went in the back door. She tried to shoot me.
I need some gloves. He's saying that she ran towards me.
So the bullet that he keeps saying grazed him went through his body. It went through his muscle fibers. So, I mean, I wondered why he was acting like white. Well, I mean, he was in shock and stuff. But it just seemed like it was a little bit over the top. But you know what? I don't know how I would act if something like that happened. I probably would be a mess, actually. I think I'd be a mess. I think I would be sobbing too and be on the ground, because I always drop to the ground when it's, well, I didn't do it with Maybelline, but I wanted to drop to the ground. My instinct is to go to the ground. I think it's because I get dizzy really easily, and I used to pass out. And so, like, the nurses and doctors were like, you just go to the ground if you feel any way. And so I go to the ground, and I think that's why. So I think I'd be on the ground too, actually.
You have any kind of, what's her name? What?
Carly Gregg.
Carly Gregg? How old is she? 14.
She'll be 15 next month. It is worth you stopping us for the door.
She jumped the fence, he said it. She didn't go out the back door. Does he go? No, we got one.
So that was the 911 call. And they were off chasing her. What was happening was Carly had dropped the gun and ran. So they were off chasing Carly, looking for her. Then they went into looking for the camera that was in the kitchen that actually we're going to watch in just a minute that showed the footage. They couldn't find it. Carly had taken the camera and stuck it in the refrigerator. It took the police officers 3 times to find it. And the family had to call them and badger them to look for it, to do the second and the third search. So when the stepdad was on the stand, you could tell he did not like the state. So they were searching all over for it. And yeah.
In trouble at home. On day 2 of the trial, Carly's 16-year-old friend known as BW in court documents reportedly testified Carly asked her to come over on March 19th because she needed help. The teen witness said Carly asked her if she'd ever seen a dead body before, showing her mother's lifeless body on the floor in their home. The 16-year-old testified Carly was carrying a gun on the day of the murder and admitted to shooting her mother 3 times, then asked her if she wanted to go outside while she took care of her stepdad. The next witness called would be another key witness in the state's case, delivering powerful testimony as he had to relive what happened on.
The friend confuses me, but that's just proof that young people don't know how to behave in these situations, in these intense situations. Like, so Carly invited the friend over and didn't tell them what was going on. It was under the guise that she really needed help. Some friends had offered to call 911. Sorry, guys, my mic went out. This is new. I didn't know that my mic was doing this. This started happening last night. So the friend comes in and Carly says, "Are you squeamish?" And they're like, "What?" And she's like, have you ever seen a unalive body? And so Carly shows the friend. The friend says, "There's a towel over Ashley, and her hands are crossed, crisscross across her chest." And then she says, "You got to go outside. My dad's coming home. You know, I've got 3 bullets left." So they go outside. She goes outside and she doesn't call the police. She doesn't call her parents. She just goes outside and waits. And then the dad comes home. Carly aims the thing at him, grazes through his neck, shoulder muscle, and he reaches for the gun and grabs it. I think he says another one goes off, but manages to get the gun from her. And Carly runs outside, and the friend's out there, and then both her and the friend run away. The friend literally stood outside, heard the gunshots, and stood outside. So if that's proof that young souls, young minds, young people aren't thinking like you and I. Yeah. She had started saying Carly was becoming becoming unwell. And the friend, not this friend, I think another friend, I think it was a different friend, was the friend that told her mother. So there's like really 2 friends in this case. There's the one that came over, which was a female. And then there's the one that actually told Ashley Smiley, the victim, about Carly doing substances. And I would think both of those people feel horrible, but both of them, I think both said they're still friends with Carly. So, I mean, it says a lot that they're still friends with Carly. The stepdad doesn't want her to go away for life. I mean, I don't know. She was never in trouble before this, and she got life in prison. And yeah, I don't know. Ugh, I hate the unfairness of it all. Let's go in and watch the footage, shall we? So this is the Smiley kitchen. They have 2 dogs that are going to be wandering around. There's sound, so you're going to hear some humming. I don't know who was humming though. She knew enough to keep her hand behind her back so that the pew pew wasn't visible to the camera, because I'm sure Mr. Smiley could see the camera if he pulled it up on his phone. He did say that for some reason, because she's now sitting down texting the stepdad saying, "Are you coming home, hon?" And he said for some reason he knew. She's humming now. For some reason he knew it was Ashley, or he knew it was I'm sorry. He knew it was.
There are a lot of good dogs at the shelter right
now. Have you guys watched this show just out of?
There are a lot of good dogs at
Sitting with dogs.
The shelter right now. This dog, though, seemed to have a certain sadness.
It's called Sitting with Dogs, and the channel is this guy. It's a really good channel. I don't know what the channel is. Rocky Kanaka. It's a very good channel. He goes into shelters and he sits with the dogs and he does affirmations with them. And it's just really amazing to see how compassionate he is with the dogs and how he gives them their space. And when he tells them, like, you're a good boy or you're a good girl, the way that the dogs, their body language changes, it's just really beautiful. I really recommend it to you guys. If it's, I love that channel. Okay. So, let's move on and let's talk about the psychiatrist in this case, because I feel like the psychiatrist really no, actually I want to watch some more body cam before we go into the psychiatrist. I want to watch the body cam footage of when they finally catch Carly when she was out on the run. You think that there was more to do with it, that the stepdad was in on it? I don't think the stepdad was in on it. I mean, more could have been in the whole case. Like maybe she was being abused. I don't know. She tried to say that she was being abused, but it never really came out. So yes, it helps them get them adoptable. Yes. It gets their little faces out into the world, and it helps to show that, you know, like, don't just choose the little dog that comes up to you in the shelter, that the one hiding in the corner can be just as wonderful, that they're going through so much. They're so overwhelmed, and just little kindness is amazing for them.
to take a ride? Huh? Too full.
Stop sign. Turn right onto Ashton Way. Then the destination is on your right.
I'm gonna get it forward to where he picks her up.
Y'all ain't never done one? Okay.
Hey, I got one for the whole right and left, or
No, they're labeled. Yeah, open up the one right there. It should have all of them labeled right there.
Okay, sir.
You go have to go the other way.
Screaming.
Yeah, you have to go the other way.
Go.
I'm gonna pull right there. Let me back up.
I wish I had something on my thing where I could press a button and get rid of that background noise on body cams. Is that a dog? It must be a canine unit. Yes, if you guys can do a little extra and share my content this week, not only just give me a thumbs up, but share my content, it would help me tremendously. I don't know why, but my views are way down. It's not like a little down, it's like way down. Like over 0.5% down. I don't understand.
All right, so get these. So look, come here. All right, so that's gonna be for your that's gonna be right hand. All right, left hand. All right. So turn.
Did she have her medication with her or something?
Look, I'm gonna show you right there. All right, you're gonna do.
She had an envelope and her medication in her hand.
Okay, I'm just showing you in the back of the hand. Okay. All right. Then whenever you get through, you're gonna turn it in. All right. All right. You're gonna open it, turn it back in. All right. When you turn it back in, then when you get ready to do this, it's right there. Close this.
You could very well be right. I mean, I would tend to lean toward things don't just happen that fast. Although I think there was a lot leading up to it. She was doing substances. She had just been, her mother just found some things out. Yeah. Yes, she was on antidepressants. She had just been put on. But the psychiatrist that testified for the state.
I'm gonna move the handcuffs around to the front of you. Okay. All right. All right. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna swab your hands. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just listening.
Well, I asked you a bunch of questions, but obviously you fired with a pistol, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, look. I need you to hold your hand out like this. I'm gonna do your right hand first, okay? It's your right hand.
Oh,
Like
yes.
that.
You know what? Soul Souffle, you're absolutely right. The father, the biological birth father, they were having issues with him. He had made Carly drink alcohol with them, and I think do some other kind of substances. Yeah. Yes, there was cutting, there was bulimia, there was a lot going on with this girl, a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of intense emotions going on with this girl, and I don't think that's another reason why I don't think she deserves a life sentence. So, The psychiatrist that testified for the state said Carly never talked about any voices or any type of abuse except by the biological dad.
Which hand did you shoot with?
So they're doing her hand for the gunshot residue right now.
Flop the hand, turn the hand over, and rub on the outside part around the knuckles. Where do you want? Where do you want kids from?
Yeah, you know,
I guess you can put it in my vehicle.
other countries are way ahead of us in the United States. And, you know, I just always try to remind myself we are a relatively new country compared to other countries. So maybe we'll get there someday. We'll see that locking everyone away, especially 14, 15-year-olds. But unfortunately, we're not there yet.
Can you take her up to the office?
So this was her arrest. She was very neat, and you know, they swabbed her little hands, and yeah. So let's get in to the psychiatric exam. Here we have Carly Gregg's psychiatrist reveal she didn't have severe mental issues prior to the unalivings. So this is her own psychiatrist that's testifying, the one that she was sent to when she was having the family problems.
If you would, Olivia, introduce yourself to these men and women.
I'm Olivia Lieber.
And Olivia, where do you work?
Precise Mind.
And tell us a little bit about what Precise Mind is.
It's an outpatient mental health clinic, and we do research and mental health care for all ages.
Just to be clear, you're a little nervous today, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Is this your first time to ever testify?
Yes.
All right. How do you, and what is your role at Precise?
I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner.
And can you kind of tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do?
Yeah. I got a degree with a master's degree in advanced nursing practice. So I chose to specialize in psychiatric mental health. The nurse practitioner program requires 1,200 hours of clinical practice, and we have to do different specialty groups, have experience with different specialty groups like geriatrics, adolescents, outpatient and inpatient psychiatry. So it's just a specialized nurse practitioner role, provider role.
And when did you do that?
That was 2.5 years ago, and I graduated in December 2021.
And have you been at Precise the whole time since then?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what is it that you do? I know you told us that you're a nurse practitioner there, but what is it that you actually do, like with patients at Precise?
We evaluate. Evaluate them and assess them, and we diagnose and then do medication management.
When you're evaluating them, is it important that they provide you accurate information?
Oh yes, very.
And why is that?
Because we base our diagnosis on that.
Did you have the opportunity to have a patient by the name of Carly Gregg?
Yes.
Do you see her in the courtroom?
I do.
Is she at this table?
Yes.
Olivia, I want to talk to you. Do y'all keep medical records of your treatment that you provide to patients?
Yes.
And did you do that with Ms. Gregg as well?
Mm-hmm.
May I press switch on? You can take that off if you need to.
Thank you.
After what's been marked previously as State's Exhibit number 19, if you could take a minute and look at that and see if you recognize those documents.
Mm-hmm. Yes, these are my notes from her visits.
And again, why is it important that we have medical records?
Well, we can't remember everything that we've done, and just to basically keep a treatment plan of what we've seen, what we think is going on, and what we need to address, and then the plan that we come up with the patient and or parents.
Do you recall the first time that you met Carly Gregg?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
That was January 15th,
okay,
2024.
And prior to actually having an appointment with you and you being in the room with her, did she also fill out any paperwork or have any testing done?
They are required to fill out intake paperwork that have a few screenings and just demographic information.
Did you have Ms. Gregg do any additional screenings or questionnaires?
No.
And who has them fill out if you'll turn to date stamps number, it's 757, Olivia, in that.
Okay.
I'm looking at something called the cardiac screening questionnaire.
Okay. Got it.
Kind of talk us through what that is and who has the patient fill out that form.
These are all sent to every patient. It's just like a whole intake packet, basically. If they're a minor, usually the parent does it. And this cardiac screening is mostly for patients that we're going to have on a stimulant or something that could affect their cardiac function.
And in your treatment with Ms. Gregg, you didn't really need much from the cardiac questionnaire. I want to take you to, looks like there is 2 pages after that. There's an adult ADHD self-report scale checklist. Is that similar in nature in that the patient fills that out before they ever meet with you? Is that something that you review?
Yes.
I want to talk about just a couple of things on that page.
Okay.
Olivia, down in question 6, it says, how often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you're driven by a motor? And the response was very often.
Right.
Did you review that when you were making rendering treatment to Carly?
Yes.
What about number 9 when she said she had difficulty concentrating on what people say sometimes? And she said often.
I see that.
Okay. And then if you'll turn back to the next page for me, 760, how often do you have difficulty unwinding or relaxing when you have time by yourself? And what did she say?
Rarely.
And what does that mean to you?
That this is just normal adolescent behavior. We have ups and downs at that age, and typically you can have a range of energy and or sleep disturbances throughout that age group, throughout life. So that just means that she has no trouble unwinding and relaxing, just what it says.
And then when you take the page before that, when she talks about being overly active and sometimes having concentration problems, did you take that to be the same thing, just a regular teenager that has ups and downs?
Once I asked her more about possible ADHD, that was ruled out. So yes.
Okay. And so this is not your entire treatment of Ms. Gregg, right?
Absolutely not.
I'm going to ask you to keep looking. There's something called, Olivia, the modified mini screen.
Got it.
On the following pages, 761, 762, and 763. What is, if you can tell us, those of us that are not in the medical field, what the modified mini screen is?
This is one of the intake screenings that we do just to kind of identify, really to let the patient look at possible symptoms they could be having and then just answer yes or no to those so that we're made aware of them. I usually overlook these before the patient comes in and just to kind of have an idea of what to ask about that I need to focus on beforehand.
And if the patient responds yes or no, you would then ask some kind of follow-up questions.
Definitely.
When you're meeting with them. And did you do that specifically with Carly Gregg?
Yes.
I want to point you to the very last page of that document. Question number 21. If you could read that for the ladies and gentlemen, what the question is and what Ms. Gregg's response was to that.
Have you ever heard things other people couldn't hear, such as voices? And she said no.
And what date was that was put in your system?
January 15th,
2024. So Olivia, you told us a little bit about the, and I think that most of us have been to the doctor's office, right? We have to fill out these forms, different places, different forms. You said you look over those forms, and then tell us about what you do kind of when you meet a patient for the very first time.
Okay. Usually I ask about kind of what brought them here, what their chief complaint is, so to say. And then I do a whole mental evaluation, and that includes sleeping and eating habits. For her age group, I would ask about social stressors, friend groups, if she has a good support system, a number of things, just to kind of narrow down what's going on.
And I want to talk specifically about Carly Gregg. When she came in, what were you told was the reason for her visit with you?
Depression and anxiety, and she had some social stressors.
And what did she describe those social stressors to be?
We talked about her childhood and kind of having not a great relationship with her dad, and an altercation with her mom recently. I'm going to refer to my notes.
Yeah, if you would take a look at that and then tell us once you've had a chance to review that. And that's the note from January the 15th of 2024?
Yes. She said that she had started feeling depressed since 6th grade, and then the social stressors were her parents and their custody battle.
Did you also mention that she had a little sister that had died some years back?
Yes.
I want to ask you, it says that about midway down, it says she's in the 10th grade at Northwest Rankin, and she loves school and is the valedictorian.
Yes.
How did you get that information?
I was mostly asking about school in regards to ADHD and ruling that out. And so I asked her how school was, and she said she loved it. She's a great student, and she's a smart girl.
Did she tell you that she was the valedictorian?
Yes.
Would it surprise you to learn she wasn't?
No.
Let's see. She talked about, in your notes, it says, talking about that she was in therapy previously.
Right.
What did you learn about the reason that she was in therapy when she was younger?
If I understood correctly, or remember correctly, it was based on the divorce court or custody court ordering her to go to equine therapy.
And who was that for divorce? If you don't know, that's okay.
I think it was a custody battle between her dad and her mom.
Her biological dad.
Right.
Thank you for clearing that up for us. And at some point down at the end of the note there in your history, it says her mom says that she's been lying and talking to a guy on Snapchat on a burner phone, and she's hiding it from her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom made her cut him off after they found out she was cutting her thighs and taking sleeping pills.
Right.
Is that something that you remember discussing with Carly and Ashley Smiley that day?
Yes.
And at any point did Carly say, "No, I wasn't taking sleeping pills"?
Not that I recall.
And at some point after your evaluation with her and you're in there on that first day, was there discussions about maybe giving her some medicine to try to help with her issues?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
First, we talked about counseling, and that was definitely recommended. And then we kind of pointed out the priorities and what was getting in the way of her life the most and making things most difficult and what was a priority to address. And then we talked about medication options and what to start.
And what did you end up starting her on?
Zoloft.
And do you remember what the milligrams was?
25 milligrams daily.
And tell ladies and gentlemen just a little bit about, is that a lot of medicine? Is that a little bit of medicine?
No, that is that's a starting dose, and I'm usually conservative with my approaches, so that was just a normal starting dose for her age.
And is that one of the lowest dosages that you can actually prescribe?
Yes.
I want to walk you through, Olivia, I'm looking at page 744, so I want to make sure we're looking at the same thing under behavioral health history.
Which page was it?
744 down at the bottom right. I'm still in your January 15, 2024.
Okay. One second. Got it.
Down there it says Carly had grown tired of counseling and wanted to stop. Do you remember them talking to you about that?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more?
After the equine therapy, she had tried other counselors that she wasn't necessarily happy with and stopped at some point.
And it actually even says down there, subsequent providers appeared far less impactful as Carly grew disillusioned with the courts.
Right.
Were those your words or something that they told you?
This portion was filled out by Ashley.
Okay. Thank you for that. I want to take you to the next page where you talk about mental status exam and risk assessment. And if you could tell us what that is and what you're looking for.
We're really just observing for any kind of abnormal behavior or things that stand out, like memory, attention span, they articulate well, they're cooperative, and then mood, affect, if their judgment is sound, and if they have any presence of psychosis, hallucinations, delusions.
So I want to walk you through a couple of those for Carly on January the 15th.
Okay.
What did you report her psychomotor behavior to be?
Well coordinated, which is normal.
What about her speech?
Normal rate and volume.
She wasn't talking really fast or really loud. What about when you go to her about her cognitive abilities on that day? Can you describe for ladies and gentlemen what you said about her attention span and concentration?
They were always within normal limits.
Her orientation to time, place, and person.
She was oriented to all.
And so what does that mean?
That she's aware of where she is, who she is, and the date and time and situation.
What did Carly report regarding her recent memory, her ability to recall things?
That it was within normal limits.
And what about remote memory? So things that were not happening right at that moment, but kind of in the past.
Same.
Down a little further, you talked about her emotional state. Can you tell us what her mood and affect were?
They were during the appointment. It was normal and alert and oriented and appropriate.
Her judgment and insight that day, is that something you also took into consideration? And what did you determine to be Carly's judgment and insight?
Within normal limits.
I want to take you, Olivia, to there's a section in that assessment about thought processes. Could you tell us about what you observed and what your records indicate about whether or not Carly was having abnormal or psychotic thoughts on January the 15th, 2024?
She denied those.
And did she ever tell you that she was having those types of thoughts before January the 15th of 2024?
No, she denied hallucinations or delusions.
And what was your diagnosis of Carly from your encounter with her in January 15th of 2024?
Adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depressed mood, and then major depressive disorder, single episode, moderate severity.
So for those of us that are not in the medical field, will you break that down for us and just tell us kind of what that means?
Sure. An adjustment disorder is basically just based on a stressful situation that might have happened that is their reaction to that. So it's pretty common, especially in her age group. So, and then I specified, there's a specifier that you can add that says with mixed anxiety or depressed mood. So I added that. And then major depressive disorder. And then you can specify single episode or if it's been recurrent, and then the severity, if it's moderate or severe or minimal.
And you put single episode. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Just that it wasn't chronic that I was aware of at the time.
And so, and again, you're just able to render your opinions based off the information provided.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does that appear to be, I'm sorry, there's actually another page to that. I want to talk to you about that before we move on.
Okay.
It talks about your clinical assessment and treatment plan, and we've already talked about what medication you put her on.
Right.
Tell us, there's another paragraph on that page that says SSRI /SNRI/TCA, and then it talks about patient warned of possible side effects. Can you tell us what that means?
This is just a warning for those drug classes that of possible side effects that could happen that I go over with all my patients.
And did you go over those side effects with Carly Gregg?
Yes.
And one of those side effects is self-harm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you tell them, if they're having thoughts of suicide, what do you need to do?
Go to the emergency room, call us, and stop the medication, or go to the emergency room if you are afraid that you're going to harm yourself or others.
And at any point between January and the next time you saw Carly, did she tell you that she was having any trouble with her medication?
No.
I want to talk about the next time that you had the opportunity to provide treatment to Carly. Was that on February the 14th of 2024?
Correct.
And the notes I'm looking at say that was a telemed.
Right.
And it was mom was present.
Uh-huh.
So tell ladies and gentlemen, what does that mean, telemed?
They just have the option to do in person or a Zoom call for their appointment.
And what did Carly tell you? There's sort of a history provided by the patient. What did she tell you about the medication she was on at that point?
That it had not really had an impact on her at that time.
And so kind of what was your discussion about? We're on 25 milligrams. And then what did you talk to them about?
How it's affected them and if they've had any bad side effects. And if they have not, then, and it has not done anything like for her at that point, then we usually go up on it.
And I want to talk about those side effects because your medical records specifically say the patient denied SI, HI, and ADH. So if you could walk us through, what does it mean when it says patient denied SI?
Suicidal ideations.
And when she denied HI, what is that?
Homicidal ideation.
And what about when she denied AVH?
Auditory visual hallucinations.
So she's denying seeing things that other people don't see and hearing things that other people don't see.
Right.
Did she also deny any other side effects from the medication?
Right.
You did a mental assessment and risk assessment on Ms. Gregg again on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk us through that day? Was she oriented to time, place, and person?
Yes.
And did she report having any trouble with recent memory or remote memory?
No, not that I saw.
Down in her thought processes, did she report having any abnormal or psychotic thoughts?
No.
And again, on page 3, in the records, it talks again about these SSRIs. And I think I failed to ask you, Olivia, is Zoloft an SSRI medication?
Mm-hmm.
What does SSRI mean?
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and that's the drug class for Zoloft. And that just means that it increases the available serotonin in the synaptic.
What is serotonin?
It is a neurotransmitter that most people call the happy neurotransmitter, and it affects mood and sleep.
So when you put somebody on an SSRI, the goal is to try to make them a little bit happier.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hence the antidepressant medication is going to help depression.
Yes.
And it says that, again, the patient was warned of any side effects.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall if you specifically went back over that with them?
I don't recall.
Okay. Was that the you had a telemed conversation with them? Carly discussed that she didn't feel the medicine was really doing anything to her, so you decided to up it to 50 milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
Was there an opportunity that you had to see Carly after that?
Yes, one more time.
One more time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And was that in person or was that telemed?
That was telemed as well.
And the records that I have been provided show that you saw her on March the 12th of 2024.
That's right.
Could you tell us about what was relayed to you by Carly on the 12th?
She said that the medication was making her feel like a zombie.
And what was your discussion with them? What she stated that she kind of felt zombie like?
I never want that for any adolescent. So we definitely were not going to increase it. And we just decided to go ahead and switch it to a different medication so that she didn't have that flatness and take away her personality.
When you talk about switching the medications, did you tell her to stop taking the Zoloft? Tell us about what your recommendation was.
I recommend tapering off so that you don't have any kind of discontinuation syndrome, which is a possibility, or rebound symptoms. So I told her to take 25 milligrams of Zoloft for 10 days and then stop it, and then start the Lexapro for 5 milligrams at the same time.
I want to back up again. I'm not in the medical field, so I want to make sure that tapering off means the same thing, I think.
Okay.
So she's on the 50 milligrams.
Right.
And then you want to put her on 5 milligrams of Lexapro.
Simultaneously as going down on the Zoloft.
So the Zoloft, you're saying that come down a little bit of this
right.
while we're taking this so that you don't just get off all the medicine.
Right. Weaning off.
And you said something about to rebound effects, prevent rebound effects. What does that mean?
If you have a discontinuation syndrome, if you stop your medication abruptly, there's always a risk for symptoms to come back, maybe worse, and then other things that just are uncomfortable whenever you're withdrawing.
And you don't know when you prescribe people medication whether they're adhering to your recommendations or not.
No.
At any point during that evaluation with Ms. Gregg, did she report that she was hearing voices?
No.
In fact, I think the very last line you said, again, she denies suicidal ideations, that she denied homicidal ideations. Is that right?
Right.
And that she denied AVH,
auditory visual hallucinations.
And you also did a mental status exam and risk assessment of Ms. Gregg from that day.
Right.
And I'm looking at your records, base stamps number 754. Could you tell us what your findings were with regards to whether or not Carly Gregg was oriented to time, place, and person?
She was still oriented within normal limits.
So again, she knew where she was, she knew who she was, she knew the time.
Correct.
Her recent memory, what did you determine?
It was normal. Intact.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry, it's intact.
At any point in your providing treatment to Carly Gregg, did she tell you, I'm having memory problems?
Not that I recall, no.
Did she ever tell you about any blackouts, any lapses in time?
No.
You go down and you talk about her judgment on that day. Could you tell us what your findings were with regard to that?
Within normal limits.
And her thought process rate?
Normal rate and rhythm.
So if you would, I don't think I'd asked you about that, Olivia, before now. So she had said on her questionnaire there were like some racing thoughts sometimes.
Right.
But when you observed her, what does her thought process rate was normal and in rhythm mean?
That it was not racing.
And that was the same on all 3 times that you had come in contact with her?
Right.
And then she also, you had questions and reported in your records that there have been no thoughts of abnormal or psychotic thoughts. Is that correct?
Right.
So to be clear, at no point in the 3 times that you treated Carly Gregg did she report hearing voices.
Right.
At no point did she report that she was having lapses in memory.
Correct.
Did she ever use the word derealized?
No.
She never described herself as feeling derealized?
No.
Did she ever use the word disassociation?
No.
Are those words that people typically use when you're treating them as patients?
Not typically, no.
Those are more like clinical terms.
Right.
Court's indulgence. No further.
You can typically tell when a witness is for the defense or for the state, no matter who calls it. And I get the feeling, I don't know if it was those eyebrows or the resting bitch face, but I have the feeling that she believes that Carly should get life in prison. I didn't get any love lost between the two of them. Yeah. So I just get that feeling. And it also dawned on me while we were watching this that if Gypsy Rose's case had went to trial in 2024, opposed to what it happened in 2015, opposed to like 10 years ago, would it be different? Because thought patterns are changing on like boys and girls, like like, oh, she's just a girl, she's just a little girl. You hear that still a lot, but you're starting to hear more of like equality, like, between boys and girls. Boys and girls can both harm one another or harm people. And, boys can be sexually abused just like girls can be sexually abused. We're kind of starting to wake up to all of that we don't need to treat our boys and girls so drastically different. There is something to be said about there's differences in boys and girls. I believe that there's differences, and men and women don't need to be in like physical jobs. I don't believe that a woman should just automatically be allowed to do something because she's a woman. There should be tests of endurance, if like for men and women on physically job, just stuff like that. It should be not just like, oh, women can't go here because they can't do it. Like a woman should be tested to see if she can do it, but it shouldn't be like she should just be allowed to do it. And the same for a man, they should be tested. And so I don't know. Okay, so let's pop over and look at Carly Gregg's mental evaluation revealed during the trial. This one is a bit shorter. It's 9 minutes long.
During the testimony earlier, where somebody had mentioned that Miss Gregg's father potentially had bipolar disorder. Can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen what bipolar?
This is we're gonna learn what Carly Gregg had been going through at home.
Bipolar disorder, I think it's type 2 is.
Yes, there's 2 different types. I'm not sure which one Mr. Gregg has been diagnosed with. Type 1 involves episodes of mania, which you guys had heard about previously. It's whenever someone has the really high emotional experiences. They have a lot of energy. They may feel like they're on top of the world, really happy, feel invincible, have trouble focusing. They may start a whole bunch of tasks but never finish anything. They can be more irritable. And it's so severe that it impairs their everyday functioning. Then bipolar 2 disorder is kind of a less extreme version of mania that we refer to as hypomania, where they're elevated more than what is normal, but it's not quite to what we consider a manic episode.
And when you're talking about a hypomanic or an episode in bipolar, is that consistent with somebody whose mood can change minute to minute?
No.
Could you describe for us why not?
Yes, for bipolar disorder, it's something that isn't based on someone's situation. They really have no control over their emotions. It's not due to something good happening in their life or something bad that's happened in their life. And for a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, they have to experience either the manic episode for 1 week, where from every day, more days than not, that they're in this hyper aroused state. For hypomania, they have to experience it for at least 4 days in a row. And so that's not something where you would see fluctuations within the same day or hours.
In your evaluation with Carly and your review of the medical records, was it ever disclosed that she had these periods of time that were 4 days or more?
She didn't specify an exact number of days. As I mentioned before, she said, it could be hours, days, weeks.
You spoke with Ms. Gregg about mood swings, and then she described for you at some point during your interview, I'm very detached. And I think you asked her to elaborate on that. Do you recall what Ms. Gregg told you regarding feeling detached?
Yes. So I was asking her questions that can sometimes be commonly found in people who have experienced traumatic experiences. So symptoms that sometimes indicate someone may have post-traumatic stress disorder. And we were talking about anxiety also, and how she didn't feel as bothered as she thought she should have felt by being in jail. And so I was asking her more about that, and Miss Todd offered that Miss Gregg appeared to be detached, and that Miss Todd thought that might have been due to Miss Gregg being in solitary confinement. She'd been housed by herself in the jail since she's a minor, so she has little interaction with other people other than the guards when they interact with her. And so I asked Carly about that, and she said, I'm very detached. And she said, and when I asked her to describe that a little further, she said, quote, I think when my mom would get on me, I would kind of slip away and not be in the room. I just kind of feel like it wasn't real. I think that's how I am now because all this doesn't feel real. I mean, logically it is. It just doesn't feel that way. Close quote.
And then you went on, Dr. Gugliano, to ask her about blackouts. Can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, what y'all's conversation about blackouts was?
Yes.
For reference, I think that's on the same page. We were just looking at, same paragraph.
Okay. I had asked her if she ever experienced a blackout, and she said that's kind of what happened with the incident, the alleged offense. She discussed further about the blackout, saying that she would just kind of space out. And I believe she said in particular, whenever, like if her mom was yelling at her, she was in trouble with her mom or something like that.
Did she ever use the words derealized?
She did not.
What about the word disassociation or disassociated?
No, she did not use those words.
Did she reveal to you that she was having intrusive memories regarding the crimes committed in this case?
Yes, she did.
Could you tell ladies and gentlemen about that?
Yes, so intrusive memories are just memories that someone is doing something else. They're not purposely thinking about something, and the memories just pop into their head. And once they get in their head and once they're thinking about them, it's really hard to stop thinking about them. It's hard to let go of those memories. And so I don't think at that point that I asked her for details about the intrusive memories regarding the offenses, because I had not yet determined whether she was competent to stand trial, and talking about that could have potentially revealed incriminating information. So I was waiting until later to ask that, and we never ended up circling back to that.
And Dr. Gugliano, was there anything about your conversation where somebody said something about feeling queasy when they were thinking about the event?
Yes.
Tell me about that, if you would.
Carly reported that sometimes when she thought about the alleged offenses, that she would feel queasy.
And what else did she say about being paranoid?
She described having thoughts that bad things were going to happen, such as that someone would jump on her in the jail or things like that. And in my experience and opinion, that's more consistent with anxiety than delusional paranoia. Whenever people kind of have those thoughts where they just worry about all these things that could potentially happen, that is symptomatic. You know, they often say that I'm paranoid that these things are going to happen, but they're not using it in the clinical sense of paranoia. And it's not what I would think of in the clinical sense as paranoia, as like psychotic paranoia.
I want to take a step back, Dr. Gugliano. The word queasy, and you talked about that Carly said she felt queasy when thinking about the event. Can you elaborate on what that meant?
I didn't ask her, but I was assuming that it meant sick to her stomach.
About the crimes that have been committed?
About something in relation to them. I didn't ask for any specifics.
At some point, Dr. Gugliano, did you have a discussion with Carly about whether or not she was hearing voices?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say about the voices?
She said that she had been hearing one voice, a male voice, since she was young. I think she said maybe around like 5 or 6 years old, which is unusual. And she said that she heard the voice every day and that it was always kind of there in the background, but she could usually ignore it and tune it out.
I don't think she heard any voices at all. I'm not buying that one bit. I think that her and her lawyers took the wrong route. I think they were banking on that she was this young looking 14, 15-year-old. Yeah. And I think they probably gave her a lot of misinformation. But wow. Let's look at the poll really quick and see what you guys are saying. There was a poll I put up. Let's end it. And should a 14, 15-year-old get life? 57% said depends on the crime. 31% yes. 11% no. And 35 of you voted. So I think times are changing. Times are shifting. People are getting to the point where they're treating men and women pretty equal. I mean, women still aren't being treated equal. Isn't that something? We're being treated equal in crimes, but not in other stuff. Woo. Anyway, times are changing. And yeah. Gypsy Rose is setting a dangerous precedent as an influence over our society. Although somebody did say that the interest in her is waning and people are just growing more and more angry. So maybe as the interest dies down, her story she'll go away. The only thing I worry about is as it dies down, what I worry might happen is that people won't be there to hold her toes to the fire, and she will win as an influence. I'm not calling her an influencer. She's an influence. She will become an influence, a social media influence. And yeah. It's so terrifying to me. Let me see what you guys are saying. Hey, Chris C. Standards should be standards. Males mature later than females physically and brain development. What else? In my humble opinion, defense made a huge deal that it was Ashley's pew pew when Heath had claimed it was his at one point. Wouldn't want him to get charged for manslaughter like the crumbs. Yeah, it's very interesting to me that they did make it a big deal. And these are the things I think that the jury probably noticed and made it so that they didn't trust the defense. So, yeah. But I guess it'll be all things that she can use in her appeal. I don't know. Let me see what else. I think that Gypsy is the reason why so many young girls are unaliving their mothers. I think so too. I think she's setting a really, really dangerous process. Chrissy, check out my new video. Let's see. Let me pull it up while we're doing this. How many of you guys like to go over to TikTok? Are there many of you that go over there? I know that a lot of you in the past didn't like to go over there, so I braved the waters and went over for you, and I still do. It says this video isn't available, but let me see, maybe. Yeah, it says it's not available. Unless you have a YouTube now and I'm over on the wrong site. You hate TikTok. I'm not a fan of TikTok either, and I don't grow very well over on TikTok. Like, I think I've been at like between 600 and 700 people forever. 600 and 800 people forever. I go up to like 700 and then I lose them, and then I go up and it's just like, ugh. And also, I think TikTok's a little too harsh for my soul. So I'm not brave enough to go over there and like do any type of anything. I don't know. Let's see what else you guys are talking about. Mothers and fathers, be good to one another. Try to raise out children right. Don't let the darkness take them. Don't let them feel forsaken. Yeah. Gypsy Rose is an influence, not an influencer. That should be a t-shirt. What is it? What are we talking about watching? Oh, the video. Yeah, it says it's available. So I was a teenager from hell, but I never conspired to hurt anyone. Nah, I didn't either. I was born with odds against me, so I really believe it has to do with example and only easy access to weapons. I don't know, because I had easy access to weapons. You know what? It just depends on everybody's different. So we always try to make everybody the same. Like, I did this, we did that, you did this, but everybody's different, in my opinion. And the way that somebody might respond to something might not be the way you respond to something. I know in the past I've responded very, like, shockingly, like things were bigger to me than what they should have been to other people. Like, things were always a huge deal and still are a huge deal to me. So I work on softening my emotions towards everything. So some people are like that, and that should be an okay way to be. But if it's an okay way to be, then there should be a parenting style that allows that to be an okay way to be. Like, allowing a child to be how they are and then working around that, instead of telling them this is what you are and you work around that. No, you're not sad. No, you're not this or you're not that. But it does sound like she was getting therapy. They were trying to work with her. I mean, she was getting equine therapy. I mean, so it's very upper middle class to upper class type stuff going on. It's so difficult because our society is so effed up that if it were this way, it could be this way. If it were that way, it would be this way. But all we can do is kind of talk about these theories and open up discussion. I guess that's the best we can do, right? That's what I try to tell myself, because I'm always trying to find a reason, a good, a light, something. Yes, true enough, Amy. Different for everyone. Luck of the draw, maybe. Yeah, my emotions. I wish I wasn't so emotional. Gosh, I wish I wasn't so emotional. And I was always told that my emotions weren't valid, which makes your emotions even bigger when you try to stuff them. So I don't know. I got scammed on TikTok though, so I'm done with the devil's playground. Thank God I didn't get scammed out of money, but I did get scammed a different way. I got scammed on Facebook. Somebody stole my entire like community. It was a community I had for a while. It was over 1K, and I was building it into our community. So now we're down to like 100 or 200. So you get scammed on all of the social medias, and it's so frustrating because on top of it, the platforms it's themselves don't do anything to help you. So Sizzle74 says, I was addicted to meth for 2 years, 18 to 20, experienced psychosis, had easy access to weapons, and never ever physically harmed even a fly. Well, yeah, that's great. Thank the gods and goddesses and God and whoever you pray to. That's just, thankful. But yeah, thankfully none of us harmed another person when we were young, but yeah, and thankfully you never harmed another during the psychosis. Yeah. But if you were ever out in public during that time, you weren't in your right mind. And if you had accidentally harmed somebody, you could have been sent away for life. That's the way I look at it. Like I think that's why I'm so fascinated and interested in true crime. I mean, I was a wild child and I could have harmed somebody out there, and thank every God out there that I did not. And I don't have to deal with that. And please never let it happen. But I think that's why it's so important to me to talk about this stuff and to open up channels of communication and like just all of us try to understand each other. And that's what I feel like we're doing here. And I really love the community that we're building. And it makes me really, really happy. Yes, for sure. More so for me, I was probably more at risk of being harmed by, your choices. Yes, that's another thing. Oh, the choices being harmed. Yeah, it's terrifying. And I think it's important to just try to talk to youth and be like, hey, I remember. I know. And it's just better not to do it at all because later, and just, I guess be open up front because they're aware of what's going on. We can't hide it from them because they're aware. Young girls know about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, so we've got to talk to them about it. And we've got to preserve their youth, but at the same time, make them aware. And this is new territory that all parents are walking in because never in society has this been done that I know of. So I think we're all learning. Yes, I have many angels as well, many angels and guides, and I've been supremely protected. I'm well aware of that. When psychics try to come in and read me, they really can't because I've got walls of protection. But, I was born afraid. I was born with a fear of being harmed. I've been afraid of the dark for ever since. I don't remember not being, no, I don't remember not being afraid. So I think that maybe that's why I was born with some protection because something happened and I have that fear. Okay, guys, I think that's all I have for today. Thank you for being here with me. It's helping me tremendously get over not get over, but get through my grief that I'm feeling about Maybelline. I miss her so much. Yeah, I miss her so much. And when I come here and I do these things with you, I forget how much I miss her for at least an hour or two. So you can see it's ending, and I know it comes back every few hours. Like it's just like knock knock. May's not here anymore. So sorry. All right, guys. I'm gonna go. Thank you so much, Heavenly and Christy, for popping in. Thank you, everyone to coming in and chatting. Soul Souffle, Angie Wangie, Hollywood, Sizzle 74, Leyland Squirrel. Hey, I didn't see you come in. Hey, honey. Let me get out of my crying voice. I think I'm missing some people. I'm sorry. I know I saw Lexi, Mally. If I'm missing anyone else, I'm so sorry. Licia, Lex, I already said Lexi. If I'm missing anyone else, I'm so sorry. Thank you for being here. I love having you here with me. Thank you to all the new Power subscribers, and welcome to all the new Dragonflies. Huge squeeze and hug to my OGs and the Dragonflies and the Power crew. I love you guys. I love all of you. And if nobody's told you today, I'm going to tell you this. And even if they have, I'm still going to tell you this. I love you guys so, so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hold on. It's not my screen crashed, so I've got to pull it up. So you're going to hear my voice for just a few more seconds. My board crashed in the middle of it, yet I went over and I checked and it was still going. So, okay, guys, if nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you this. I love you guys, and I'm grateful for you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Carefully strumming this old guitar, words rolling out into the fire. Never ask why my heart burned blue. Here in the haze where you inspire me. Here in the darkness I hear my cue. Time to find some solitude. Here where my soul bleeds openly, deep in the heart of sin and you. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you.